patriarchy? I mean, do you view that women are oppressed?
I think absolutely globally. I don't know how much I feel that applies in the United States today, but globally, absolutely.
And Andrew, do you think that women are oppressed in the United States?
It depends on what we would consider oppression to be.
Right. Well, let's start there. How do you define oppression?
I would say probably the unjust wielding of power by one group over another to prevent them from acting in their free will.
I'm sorry I have to do this, but I do have to get a little bit into your presupposition there. What is justice?
I mean, that's a philosophical debate.
Well, but you're appealing to it.
Yeah, I would say that justice is at its very core definition, probably just closer to the definition of equality, like equal treatment.
So anything which is unequal is oppression.
Depends on what you mean by unequal, I guess. Like if two people
you believe that egalitarianism
perform unequally, on a test, no, I don't think that would be oppression.
So then what is justice?
Honestly, I don't think I have a good definition for justice in the I'm curious what your definition of justice is.
Well, for me, I would make an appeal to Christian ethics in order to make a determination of what is or is not just. But in your case, right, you don't have anything that you can appeal to, do you? You just appeal to what? Nothing?
No, but I mean, don't you think that's kind of a cop-out that you can say, oh, well, God told me what justice is. It's Christian ethics, but you can't.
How could you ever say that my justification's not good enough for you who has no justification?
That is fair if you're talking about me directly.
For all of it will reduce to essentially relativism from your end. Absent any type of religion, it's going to be relativism. There is no moral standard you're going to be able to appeal to.
I think that's true.
Okay. Go ahead and try to appeal to a standard that's not relativism.
Like a moral standard, I think minimizing harm.
That's relative. What's harm?
Well, I would take more thought. But I mean, what is the Christian moral standard?
Well, the Christian moral standard is divine command, and this is based on the understanding that knowledge itself cannot exist absent God. It's an X to Y argument. So it would say that the argument, it would be...
Rose donated $200. Brian, this layout is awesome. These would be great to consider having more of with you mediating / asking questions between two guests.
Thank you, Rose. Yes, I want to do more of these whatever debate formats. We've done a few in the past. And thank you, Rose. Appreciate the TTS. Continue.
Okay. So in any case, regardless of what I would appeal to, even if I said I appeal to a flying spaghetti monster in the sky, I really don't have to justify that if there's no justification on your end for what is a moral standard. I don't have to justify mine then either. Why would I need to? If we're both just in relativism, then anything that I assert as being correct is just as valid as anything you assert as being correct.
Okay, but I mean, so would you agree that what I'm asserting, anything I can assert can be just as correct as what you're asserting?
If it's absent a justification, there just wouldn't be a reason for me to justify. So then what I would need to do then is appeal to force. And so if I were to make an appeal to force, we've already established that we have the monopoly on force, and you can't make a moral argument because you're a relativist. Where are we left?
I mean, so do you discount any secular...
Hang on. Answer my question.
Sorry. Ask the question again.
Where are you left if you're a relativist? You can only appeal to relativism. My worldview has to be just as valid as yours. So then therefore we both appeal to physical force. What else could we ever appeal to?
Honestly, I am not totally sure how we get from there to appealing to physical force.
Because what else could you appeal to other than just an enforcement to your preferences?
Appeal to for what? For a justification?
For any ought. Every ought would just become force. You would just say the things I want to see different in the world or because I want to see them different in the world. And then that would require force. So relativism will reduce to a force doctrine.
But I'm curious why Christian ethics wouldn't also reduce to a force doctrine.
Well, the Christian ethic can make a determination between an is and an ought. So we would make the ought claim that you should not utilize force for what we would consider oppression, which is hardly patriarchy. That's not oppressive. But yeah, we would make a justified moral claim. And that's how we would move forward in a moral conversation or in a not. But from your case, it's total and complete relativism. And you know it's relativism. Whatever worldview you come up with, absent religion, is going to reduce to relativism. And so we're just going to be right back to force again.
I mean, what if God isn't real?
Then
do you think that has any effect on...
same justification you do to appeal to force.
So could I not make up my own thing that tells me what is right and wrong, and I can lead back to that? It won't be relativism because I have this thing. That would be relativism, yeah. I'm curious how that's different from saying that it comes from God.
Because
from
there's philosophical proofs for God. If there's no philosophical proofs that you could present for whatever your flying spaghetti monster is, then we would reject it.
I don't know if we want to get... I'm actually curious what the philosophical proofs that God exists would be. Well, or you mean philosophical proof that...
Before we get into...
Yeah, that might be a little...
Yeah, before we would get into a philosophical proof, though, just remember, I don't have to justify one because you don't have to justify one. So there's no... In other words, coming to me and asking me, can you make a justification for a thing which I can't justify? Why would I need to do that? We would just assume immediately that you disbelieve whatever my justification would be, right? Because you don't hold it, right? So you don't believe it. So if that's the case, we're still going to be reduced to just appealing to force again.
Okay, but then that puts us on equal footing with our
If
ethics.
It puts us on equal footing with our ethics, and both of us are appealing to force, then ultimately, if men decide to utilize force in order, and they have the monopoly on force, you can't make a single moral argument for why that would be wrong.
So you disagree that patriarchy is oppression?
Yeah, okay, but hang on, before we move the goalpost.
No, that was a question.
And I'll answer the question, but I asked you one first. Mm-hmm. And the question I asked was, if it is true that we've reduced it all to relativism, if it is true that all we can do now is appeal to force, and if it is true that men have the monopoly on force, then if men used their force monopoly to oppress women, you couldn't make a single moral argument against that, could you?
I think that you could.
Then do so.
I did not come prepared with a moral argument, honestly, but I think that there are philosophers and people who are experienced at debating
but you
who
couldn't.
I couldn't, no.
Okay.